Believe it or not, that wasn't 3 different amps. It was just this. We all know the nightmares of metal distortion. The low end flubs out, the high end is just too fizzy, or the whole thing just disappears in the mix. This is the new JHS Kilt 10. Basically, this pedal solves every metal guitarist's tonal nightmares. They've completely reimagined the voice with more headroom and a smoother attack. Let me show you. I'm going through my 5150 Iconic on channel 1, and I'm going to show you 3 great metal tones with just the Kilt 10 by JHS. Starting with thrash metal. Now, the rookie mistake here is cranking the gain all the way to 11. If you want that dry, percussive 80s sound, less is actually more. But look at those knobs. I'm only using G1, and the gain is way down. This keeps the signal incredibly dry and articulate. The Kilt 10 has a naturally bright biting attack, so pulling the tone back slightly smooths out that ice pick frequency. You get that aggression, but it feels polished rather than harsh. And I've got the volume at about 4 out of 10. Like it says in the spec sheet, you don't really have to go past noon anymore. My verdict on that one? I think it cuts pretty perfectly. Usually I would have to rely on that tube screamer habit, cranking the volume and killing the drive just to get the amp sounding tight. But with this pedal, I don't have to do that. It solves that gain staging headache immediately. Now let me show you how that same tightness handles those lower frequencies. Now we're going to play some drop C, metalcore, killswitch engage style riffs. And take notice how it keeps the note definition without needing any more boosts. Right, here's my preset for some drop C metalcore. The goal here is hitting the front of the amp hard. I've got the low cut toggle up. This is non-negotiable for those metalcore tones. It tightens the low end before the distortion. So when you palm mute on a drop tune guitar, it keeps it percussive. For the gain, I'm using G2 only, with the switch up, and the gain is roughly between 3 to 5. Now look at the volume. I've cranked it all the way, basically to 9, almost 10. The spec sheet says you don't need to turn it past noon anymore because of the increased headroom, but I'm doing it anyway. Why? Because I want to slam the front of the amp. The difference with the Kilt 10 is that even at this extreme volume, the pedal doesn't choke or compress. It stays huge and open. That extra headroom means it pushes the amp into overdrive rather than the pedal collapsing on itself. Now to me, that is the definition of versatile. It handled the low tuning without flubbing out, and I didn't even need crazy amounts of gain to get there. But to me, the real power of this pedal is how the G1 and G2 switches let you physically change the clip in to find your ideal texture for your tone and tuning. We've done tight and modern, now let me show you massive. I'm going to stack both these gain stages and flatten the EQ to show you exactly how this pedal handles a crushing doom nu metal style tone. Finally, we're going to try and break the amp. This is the wall of sound setting. I've got the low cut toggle down for the flat EQ, and this way it lets every bit of sub bass hit the circuit. I've engaged both G1 and G2 toggles. This stacks the gain stages into that uncontrollable gated fuzz. Listen to the gate clap down when I stop. Dead silence. It's absolutely massive. I've actually backed the gain down to 12 o'clock. Why? Because G1 and G2 together is already so much gain. Keeping the knob at noon keeps the note definition alive, while the volume knob destroys the front of the amp. Now look at the knobs. I've got volume maxed and tone maxed. Usually this would be ear piercing, but because the Kilt 10 has that smoother attack and the massive low end from the flat toggle, cranking the tone just adds this ripping Velcro texture to that top end that cuts through the mix. And that right there is the Kilt's secret party trick. You heard that huge wall of sound, that fuzz, that sludge, but you also heard basically silence when I stopped. Usually, to get that kind of specific style of Korn gated fuzz, you need a high gain fuzz pedal and a pretty good noise gate. This is doing both, instantly, just by stacking the gain switches. It basically removes the need for any extra gear in the chain, which brings me to the reason why this pedal is a permanent fix for me. Look, I'll be honest, I love metal, but I kind of hate pedal boards. There's nothing worse than turning up to a gig or band practice, setting up your entire rig, then hearing a crackle or a buzz, and having to check like 6 or more different patch cables and power supplies to find out which one of them is making that really annoying noise. I think complex rigs are a nightmare. They absolutely kill my creativity. And usually to get tones like that, you need a noise gate and a tube screamer to tighten up that flub. And don't forget your high gain head as well. That's like 3 failure points. The Kilt 10 is pretty much almost replacing that entire chain. It cuts that bass physically with that toggle, so kind of no tube screamer needed. It gates the fuzz internally, so sort of no noise gate needed. And it's just like 1 cable in and 1 cable out. Simple. This is why I think this can be the cure for your metal tone. Because I think bad tone usually just comes from overcomplicating things. You know, adding way too many variables. But this pedal simplifies the equation. You want tight? Flip that cut switch up. You want doom? Flip it down. It's pretty much impossible to dial in a bad sound because the circuit fixes those EQ problems for you. If you're sick of tap dancing on a massive pedal board and you just want a tone that works, this is it. And if you want to learn more about this incredible pedal, check the link in the description below.